during Billy's altercation that, by the way, 100% not to victim blame, but good Lord, Billy, that shit looked avoidable as hell. Like, this man...
Everything that goes wrong in this particular episode for him is avoidable. Okay, cool. Melrose Maniacs, we are back once again with another deep dive into Melrose Place here on Melrose Madness. The mellifluous laughter you hear is Lisa, my co-host.
Hi. Thank you. Is that how my laughter is received?
We're just going to do our weirdest laughs throughout.
I have a cackle. I have a witch's cackle, I think, and it's
I'm
where
Wayne.
my power comes from.
I can do a really high-voiced
high-voiced laugh.
Laugh, yeah, like people stop in a dining setting, which is probably still terrifying to me. Sometimes I can see people look over and I'm like, oh, fuck, maybe that was... Anyways.
So when you laugh, you also experience a fear that people are going to tell you to stop having joy. Oh, hi, that's Wayne.
Well, yeah, did you hear the like, it's in the higher register, and just on the my natural, like, almost giggle.
I love it. I love that.
But, I mean, I don't care so much, because it's also like, you're annoyed because someone's laughing.
Yes, exactly.
Take a moment. I mean, unless, I don't know, maybe it's like something terrible's happening at that table, and they're like...
Well, I personally, as somebody who has performed live with an audience, there's nothing I love more than a loud and distinct laugher. If your friend has a crazy laugh, they can't lie to you if they went to your show or not. Like, and I've had certain friends where I'm like, oh my gosh, I know you were there. Because and people have told me, they're like, oh man, when I heard you do your, like, my shriek cackle, then they knew I was there. So it's like, it's like birds. A caw, caw.
Yeah, it's a call.
It's a call.
No, I have been the laugh fluffer.
Oh, I bet you're a very good laugh fluffer.
Yeah.
Because, like, your happiness is infectious.
Yeah. And it really, I've been told it helps that mood.
Well, and also here's the thing about a laugh fluffer.
Yeah.
It's a victimless crime. No one's ever getting hurt. Because you know what? Would you be upset knowing that the laughs you experienced in the audience had been cajoled just a little bit by someone in there? No, it doesn't matter. It's like wrestling. You're here for the experience.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. As long as everybody walks away having a good time.
No, small stakes deception. I'm not above small stakes deception.
Oh, small stakes deception.
Like no stakes, preferably. No stakes deception, big time. Once I have to start, like... So this actually, wonderfully, I think, gets right into what we're talking about.
I was going to say, when I heard deception, my little radar went off. I was like, here we go.
The doctor is in.
The doctor is in.
Season 1, episode 10 of Melrose Place that we're looking at. And boy, oh boy... I guess that's our overall impression to start with.
Boy, oh boy is a great thing to say for this episode.
The man has emerged.
Michael Mancini has absolutely emerged. Listen, I'm just going to get out there early and say the race relations stuff is kind of boring and a bummer. So,
it's clunky.
we may gloss over it, but I will say the real, there's a couple of moments that I found way more interesting, and one of which being seeing that glimmer in Dr. Mancini's eye, where we're starting to see, thoughts brewing. He's reacting a little more like he's gesturing.
Gestures are broader.
A little bit broader.
Well,
like,
yeah.
I don't know that he ever says, "Come on, Janie," but he's like, he's getting there.
Yeah, but he's setting up. He's trying some alts on that for sure.
Absolutely.
It is. We have seen a man who literally in an episode wore a shirt that said "neurotic state," which
right.
I believe was a push for characterization. The switch is flipped with this episode, and it makes a nothing plot line, because that's the C story we get.
Oh, you're so right.
We've got race relations. We've got Jake.
Jake and his mom.
Yeah, we're starting with the C story. I think it's race relations because that's an issues episode.
Yes.
Jake and his mom, which
gross. God. Again,
gross.
We'll gloss over the grossness.
But like this sort of like schemy Mancini has Mancini has entered the building.
It's so wonderful because he it really does appear to be that as soon as Jane gets pregnant, he has never been on board. Something snapped in him where he's like, "Oh, this is real. This marriage, she means it. This is real." Because there's, what are you gonna do? You're gonna raise a baby in this apartment complex? It's like he knows it's the beginning of the end of that life for them, and I feel like we are just seeing a Michael Mancini preparing to reject this life that he doesn't want to.
This fraud he's been perpetrating.
Exactly. He can't. Oh, I'm really enjoying this.
It's
so
factually
much.
A shift in characterization, but it's weirdly set up in some ways. Like he was not jazzed about the prospect of pregnancy at this point in his and Jane's relationship.
You're right.
Right, and there was a lot of like, I knew you wouldn't want it. I don't know.
He was like, you're right. And here's what I love too is I think Wayne, if I remember correctly,
I'm living in that moment. A callback to the episode where Lisa pierced through the veil, and she's just like, these people shouldn't be having children.
Yes, he knows it too, and so that's why I think he's like, oh God, I really should not. Nobody with my DNA needs to be running around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very, I feel like for us, we're getting to see, like, the actor also
find the performance.
Like, they're 10 episodes in. Everybody's probably feeling a little bit safe, you know, a little, or they're like, hey, you know, maybe finally Michael has something to sink his teeth into. And we're seeing the first of him. Okay, I do remember back that, like, he's also kind of always dismissive of her when it comes to his work. Remember one time he's like, he came home from work, he's like, I'm exhausted. I have that. And he goes straight to read a book before he talks to her. And so now it's escalating.
Yeah.
Because this is the first time we see him where she's like, oh, are you going to be home? He's like, I'll do my best. And he's like, really, like, come on.
It's a lot of like,
he's so dismissive.
I mean, does this get right to the thing about, he is growing a little contemptuous of Jane.
100%.
Or that he. I mean, I think the Mancini we're seeing him become, without really thinking about spoiling anything, just.
It's very natural.
Yeah, there's a couple fun things to discern for me, because one is going from neurotic to this
yes.
is like, well, but self-awareness. There's no self-awareness.
No.
Like that's or it's like he's so self-aware that he's turned that part of him off. Is the kind of person he's going to be.
And here's another thing I remember. Yes, I agree with that. And another thing I'm remembering is, if you remember correctly, so the episode where he finds out that she's pregnant, you know, he has a whole back and forth with it. Whenever they have a resolution about some sort of marital discussion where they're not on the same page, it never really ends with him going, oh, you know what, I've learned my lesson. It usually ends with him going, oh, you know, I really screwed it up, but hey, we'll probably be fine, right? In the end, he always like, this stuff will just work itself out, is what he usually says.
He smooths it over. Well,
yes.
But that is so dead on.
It's never a perfect solution.
But this is actually, I don't want. Am I hijacking? If I take somewhere?
No, please go ahead.
Okay.
Please run with this.
But if I were, you'd be like, "Let me finish."
Oh, I would absolutely.
Okay, cool. Rules of the road, you know, it's good. It's good to establish them.
But you were talking about Michael's contempt for Jane, I believe.
And part of the switch that flips, part of what makes what is on paper a non-plot into something that is a joy to watch is the emergence of the Michael Mancini we're going to see for the duration, truly. And it gets much wilder than this, obviously, but just the moment where she says something and he immediately has an excuse.
Oh,
like,
it's
like the low, like we were talking about low stakes deception in real life, but this is like low stakes scheming.
Low stakes defensiveness.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I think it was in the like baby class where he's handling the baby so rough that he pulls the arm off.
This toy child.
This toy child, and she's like, "Hey, what's?" And he's like, "Oh, look, it's just like I'm exhausted from all the stuff I've done at work. I can't."
It's cheaply made anyway.
Cheaply made anyway.
It's that instinct to have a dumb lie immediately
at the ready, and we're like, "Oh wow, this is the first we've seen you."
But it's fun to fucking watch.
It's so much fun. I absolutely love it. He's the first villain.
Yeah.
Because everybody else so far has been like some weird external force.
I mean, as far as the show is communicating to us and concerned,
100%.
asterisk,
Exactly.
because Billy's like a Batman villain nearly. The liar struck again.
Billy,
son of a bitch.
Thank you for bringing that up, because one thing that we would like to point out during Billy's altercation, that, by the way, 100%, not to victim blame, but good Lord, Billy, that shit looked avoidable as hell. Like, this man...
Everything that goes wrong in this particular episode for him is avoidable. Yes, sorry, please go ahead.
No, 100%. Feels completely like he gets there in the car, there's a little old lady, he lets out, she seems fine. I would just follow her lead. He, instead of going the way he came, he slowly veers into this dead end, slowly looks... The whole time, by the way, has been looking suspicious from the beginning. So these things aren't a surprise to him.
It's almost like some sort of bizarre social convention has been triggered, but really by him. Well, he was like, oh, look, black guys.
Well, it was like, oh, look, this is how a crime happens. And then the Jets came out, like the way they were banging on I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. And then so this whole
Billy's car is under attack, by the way.
His taxi,
not a scratch on his person.
Which is like covered in steel. At any point, if he felt like threatening anybody to get away, he could have easily gotten out of there. I feel like whatever. But to me, the funniest part about all of this is when we sat and just rattled off the top of our heads all of the crimes.
Billy's a fucking criminal. This is what I'm saying.
We would like Billy. These aren't crimes and things I'm about to mention all of them, but like he lies on his resume. He habitually lies to get jobs. He kidnapped Alison at one point. He steals her car in this episode. He is constantly committing tiny fraud.
No, that's the word. Mind meld. It's like he's committing the kind of fraud that like is technically illegal, almost certainly, but they never do anything about because they're like...
He bounced a check. He lied to the credit card company. I mean, these things keep coming to me as I speak. He misled Jake down to go watch a hot dog stand.
Billy's so unreasonable in this episode that he out-vigilantes Jake by a long shot. I mean,
luckily Jake was like consumed with thoughts of his mom.
Is it a kidnapping? Does it count as a kidnapping?
What
Billy does to Jake?
Or does it count as a swindling, maybe?
You know what? It's definitely taking someone to a second location they didn't totally consent to. So, yeah, thank you.
Because we have judged earlier the desert trip with Alison being under such false pretense that it should have counted as kidnapping.
100%. And then also...
BillyCrime. Hashtag BillyCrime.
Hashtag BillyCrimes. Hashtag Billy Collar Crime. If you have...
that mullet was a hashtag BillyCrime.
It's a rugby collar. If you commit a Billy crime, it's a rugby... Instead of white collar, blue collar, it's a rugby collar. Billy... and then the aggressive pouting that he does. He literally at one point is just like... He looks like he's taking a poop on the couch. His face is so angry
so put out
and upset. He at one point says, "I've never felt more helpless in all of my life." And I was like, I don't know.
And then the next words he says is, "You wouldn't know what it feels like." To like
everyone,
ladies,
or
like they don't know what it feels. I mean, like he gets more specific and it turns it into like, and this is what happened to me. But like, there's a moment where he leaves it dangling.
Well, also, hey,
among the avoidable, unforced errors is I think what they're called in a sport.
I actually don't know what they're called in sports. But I believe you.
Probably baseball. Sorry.
And I want to say that like a lot of it is, well, yes, women, but also I think even in this episode you see Jake does not consent to his mother being in his apartment. And what does everybody do? They tell her where to, it's the same thing as before when Sandy's like, hey, I want to date this guy. And then he would show up and they're like, hey, this is where she lives. Everyone's always pushing everybody into situations they don't want to be in. And they also did it with Rhonda, I think. Oh no, has that happened yet with her boyfriend? No, that hasn't happened yet. But needless to say, guys, it is a big theme of like, hey, you need to do what society expects you to do in this situation, because it's, even though you've claimed that this is your personal business, we believe that you should do this. And I feel like that's like a big theme of like having a 90s job.
Like waitressing?
When you're a 90s woman.
It was well, and that was kind of what we were cracking up about, is that Billy is, other than just his most terrible attributes, including the car theft in this episode, and I don't know if we said that aloud yet.
Yeah, he's
that he steals Alison's car for the purpose of vigilantism. That I was only just relieved. I didn't get what the plan was. And I was like, tell me he's not confronting these motherfuckers. Like, this is not
that was his
entertaining anymore. But he just takes license plate, whatever. But
I know he had no end game. Because again, by the way, here's what I could have imagined happening.
Yeah.
Billy's there. If Jake hadn't been there, this knucklehead would have been asleep by himself. And the guy's probably like, hey, bam, bam, bam. And then he goes to the police. He's like, I don't get it. It's almost as if I keep going that they're happening to me in their neighborhood that I took all this effort to go to. And you're just like, hey, guess what? Leave them alone. Why are you there? You're not even a real taxi driver. Oh, he gets everything he deserves. He's lucky they didn't give him a second time. That'd be so funny because he was a dead asleep. Can you imagine if
he's
imagine
incompetent.
this? Imagine if the scene is this. It's Billy like mouth open asleep, and all of a sudden you hear Jacob, Billy, wake up. Billy, wake up. Billy, wake what? And the guys are like, ha we got you. And then he's like, we know where you live. We're gonna get Alison. All of us are going to Palm Springs because we need you guys to pretend to be our girlfriends to our parents.
Whoa.
And then
That's
Jake's,
a wild branch of the
Bill's
Melrose
like,
televisual multiverse.
Oh yeah, Billy's like, oh God, I deserve this.
But that would be more character development than we perhaps ever see in Billy.
I think that's
to actually reflect on the fact. I mean, like, so you said you referenced the '90s job thing, but like we were cracking up earlier, looking at Billy as kind of like the '90s man, like this weird Frankenstein. I mean, a certain kind of man, obviously, entitlement,
and not a real human,
entitlement and sulky, but like also like sort of defaultish. Like there are boys who grow up in places like Granada Hills and are like soccer studs and just default to like a local college and stay home and set out for life at the first time. But like he's such a blank version of this weird like accurate-ish cliche that he doesn't fully embody as a character.
Well, I don't think he's based on any real human. I feel like he's just based on like a yearbook photo.
Yes.
And so you've basically taken a yearbook photo.
We've adapted an H&M ad. I mean, not that in particular, but whatever.
Yeah, like that is even more sophisticated, I think, than Billy. I mean, because also it's supposed to be like, I don't know. I think Billy's supposed to be like just middle class white guy. And we're supposed to be like, because Jay's supposed to be like from the wrong side of the tracks, white.
Contrast.
Well, yeah, he's like blue collar white guy, and Billy is like suburban white guy, and I think that's like the two, because if you think about Ken, there's the two kind of Ken dolls, because that's just he's got brown hair and he's got different hair. And this one comes with a motorcycle.
Different kinds of white.
This one comes with a soccer ball.
And a sense of entitlement that busts the package. Well, to take it maybe orthogonal, just because you said about class amongst whites.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about Billy's mom? Sorry, can we talk about Jake's mom, whom he does not want around?
Yes, I have a theory that a lot of times, if you want to do like a shorthand of like, if you want to make a white person poor, you just do a Southern accent, and then, but also, I also think though as well, there's the whole. I think a lot of actors really like doing the Southern accent, and so it's a whole Tennessee Williams. Suddenly, guest characters from True Blood are just like popping in. I think like Mom's suddenly very Southern-ish, or maybe like a Midwestern Southern. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is, but like no one's really from Seattle. I don't.
Well, Jake is wearing flannel.
He's wearing flannel.
So thus you know, and he talks about his lumberjacks at some point. But yeah, no, it is. I mean, it's occurring to me. I don't think for the first time that it's a little bit of Melrose Place is supposed to be a microcosm of a chunk of society.
Yes.
So you've got rich, middle class, poor, Southern, Eastern, Northwestern, right?
I mean, it's like Shakespeare. It's like anything. There's archetypes. There's the if you have everybody in differing levels of power and control, then that makes for more juicy storytelling. Because then so and so has the upper hand in this situation, but then this person does. So it's really just like, I mean, think of like the Greek and the Roman, myths, any kind of mythology. It's always like a trickster god. There's somebody, and like, I mean, it's really just the same thing over and over.
You wind up a human in any civilization, and this plot device is going to come out at some point.
Anytime that there is some delineation between one type of entity being better than another type of entity, then yes, that's what you've got. You've got the power dynamics going over and over and over. And so class is just another way to do that, to separate everybody. But yeah, that's why Melrose Place is a perfect show.
This is why we, for so much of our time, inhabit the Melrose televisual multiverse, is because
it's just a delight.
It contains multitudes.
Oh wait, so sorry to go hard on another direction.
Do it, please.
A moment that really, really stood out to me. Now that we've talked to Jake and his mother bringing up this situation, he doesn't want his mom to be there. So much so that he sees her at Shooters.
Yeah.
And she's flirting with this guy, obviously playing pool.
Mm-hmm.
And she sees her drinking, and so by the time she comes home, she's obviously been drinking a lot. This man very clearly placed a lamp, a freestanding lamp, floor lamp, where she tries to get in, and it is in the way, and then he passive-aggressively is like sitting in the dark, and is like, hey, and she's like, oh my god, like trying to get past the lamp, and it's just, I cannot, there is no way that lamp just was casually already there. He did that on purpose, and I love the pettiness of it.
It's sort of like the low stakes Home Alone of it all, and like attacking her with inanimate objects, just knowing the path and knowing her so well, because like, I think that you're supposed to get that like, that scene is played out, like Jake's a big baby for someone who had to have been adultified early.
Exactly, that's the other thing. He doesn't, for somebody who seems like he's been on his own for a really long time, he seems like really not independent at all. He does glom onto these women.
Yeah.
Well, we know that eventually.
But you had this beautiful thing about fulfilling archetypes. I was thinking just about like that functionally, it's like the transitive property. If Southern equals shorthand for poor, so you got a class thing going, but you have someone writing that who essentially in reality has only interfaced with Southern culture in a Tennessee Williams play.
Or
right? Is that why? Part of why Sandy and Mama Hanson are such of a mold?
Well, I think that is the actor's choice. because the writer's not going to be caring as much about a Tennessee Williams play as the actor saying to themselves, "This is my opportunity to be a Tennessee Williams character." So I just think that there's a lot, like at that time you had people who, you had monologues that you give in different accents, and how many times do people auditioning? Maybe Sandy auditioned, the actress auditioned with a Tennessee Williams monologue, for all we know. Because back then too, like, guys, people had to go to a store to buy a play so that they could read it and memorize it and do auditions. You couldn't just Google things.
There was motivation required.
You couldn't, you couldn't easily. Well, there's still motivation required. It's just the technology was completely different. Yeah. I'm just saying that, like, so that means that a lot of people were auditioning with the same material because it was just more limited. What was I can't even remember the name of the bookstore.
Samuel French?
Yes, Samuel French. Like, you had to go to this
yes, there was a time.
Bookstore.
I have done that. I have gone to...
Is there a Sam French on Melrose?
I feel like there was one in town.
There were two of them. There was one in the valley.
They were not close to where I was.
I think it was Santa Monica.
Maybe it was
Sunset.
Sunset. I think you're right, actually.
Yeah, off of Crescent. Okay.
This is a specialty shop that actually had all the plays, and like, if you were around people who are into theater, sometimes they were going to do some back catalog shit that meant you were traveling to this one spot in town.
Yeah.
Or two spots.
Or if you are an actor auditioning for a role, and you're trying to find something, you can't. It wasn't as easy.
You're not doing you're just for audition material. You're not going to the special place.
No, you are.
You are, okay.
Well, yeah, because where else would you go?
Okay. Oh, right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's the narrowness. It's the narrowness of it.
Yeah, and so
it's right.
And also, so there's also remembering what the time was, because sometimes what we may think is a coincidence is a reflection of the lack of choice and options, because people aren't able to, like, everybody's pulling from the same thing in a lot of ways, because also, things weren't even. Good Lord, I remember when I moved out here from Georgia, it was like a big deal to move from state to state. Like, not everything was digital. People weren't, depositing.
What's it like there?
Right? It was, so there wasn't this immediate understanding of things or an ability to look things up so quickly. Like, everything was a little bit more, and so I think people were in their own bubbles in different ways than we are, with the internet. Yeah, that's just Sam French. Oh my God.
Well, yes, you got to bring it back to the 90s so often. That's the anchor point. This is the context.
Remembering the context.
I think all of that's right, and I also think that either through laziness or through lack of knowledge of what the South is, that the creators here reran their playbook of Sandy as a character with Mama Hanson as a character, because there's even like echoing. Okay, I'm just going to rattle them off real quick because this matters to me somehow, and it might matter to some of our listeners. Mama Hanson asks Jake for compassion. She just wanted a little compassion, which is literally something that Sandy asked him for a couple episodes ago. And he had a different answer this time. It was a totally different circumstance. You have, besides the accent and the whole Tennessee Williams of it all with both of them, there's scenes that echo each other as well. With, in this episode, Mama Hanson's making the Denver omelet that turns into an awkward and false metaphor for parenting. But
you don't coddle an omelet.
They even kind of mimic shots of a couple episodes back when Sandy was there, no pants, making the her southern bacon and egg and thing, and he said the same thing, like, smells interesting. Which, like, I have a whole rabbit hole of that I'm not going to pull you guys into. I think the producer Ilana might have saved me from that at some point where I was like, no, listen, like, but anyways.
I mean, I don't, many times I feel that I find multi-layered meaning in Melrose Place. Other times I think maybe it's a copy and paste situation.
Oh no, we went through that as well. Just like pure laziness, pure like just shit, or parallel writers.
But also let's remember. Okay, let's take it back to the 90s. This is a soap opera, so you're going to try weird things in a single episode to go, hey, let's throw out a strange relationship with a parent and adult child with this Jake character. Let's see how fans like that. So I don't know. There might just be. There's also the case of like, you know,
like maybe Oedipal's in this season a little, or
it isn't this season. Well, not Oedipal, but you know, there. Spoiler alert.
Well, no, but I mean, like that was a thought. That could be a thought behind it. Is
maybe
let's throw in an Oedipal thing, and if people bite, the mom's a regular.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you could have any kind of because like, you know, soap opera. You're trying You're watching. These are not big episode. You know, these aren't like Netflix binge watching. This is like you're seeing the ratings after the night. How did people react to that?
And whatever episode buffer you had, which was probably tight, you start making adjustments on the fly.
Yeah, I think so. So it's a lot of just like trying out goofy stuff, seeing what hits with audiences, and you know, you never know. Because that lady she had a really interesting look. I almost wonder if she was in a soap before.
Oh, I think we looked up her background, and sometimes it glosses over me when it's like, oh, this is a bunch of stuff I haven't seen.
She was in Ruthless People.
Oh, I remember that. That was
Yeah.
like that was a pretty big movie in the 80s, right? But yeah, it's because I also think that's the thing too, is like there's so many. If you think back to how TV is made too, it's like soap operas are literally selling soap. And so they're just like, hey, what are people into this week? Should we go down this road? Also, too, probably they were like, it was such a like teachy, preachy episode with the Billy storyline that maybe they were like, let's be real extra wild with this Jake business.
But it also played one way Oedipal, where the mom was straight up seductive a few times, which was really weird. And he was having none of it. Like, as a drama, like, especially in Jake's person, like, this actually is a real issue of, like, surviving bad parenting.
Yeah.
You know? And Jake's actually kind of, like, the reasonable person throughout. He doesn't take a massive shit on this woman, even though she abandoned him. I mean, he meets with the riot act a little. I guess I've now established different levels of telling someone off. You've got riot acts down here, but then anyways, go ahead.
No, yeah, I mean, I feel like it's kind of, again, like, I don't feel like Jake's that developed as a character because, like, you're
hearing my infatuation come out.
Oh,
is that
maybe
I don't mean to cut you in.
I feel like they kind of did, like, I don't know if I was AI. And you threw some Tennessee Williams plays into me, and some Brawny ads, and you know, a box of red hair dye. I think I might spit out the Jake character and his backstory because I don't feel like he doesn't.
Maybe the Calvin Klein ad was in the machine too. I'm saying
perhaps because like the thing that's crazy is like I think what I was waiting for is for Jake to have like a sit down with her where he's like, hey, listen, I just want to talk to you exactly about how you made me feel. Like, you did this, and this. And instead, he just kind of yells at her about these vagaries, and he just gets mad at her. And I go, yes, I understand this lady, like, didn't seem like she was a great mom.
Yeah.
You know, I don't feel like she did a great job. But, like, again, I'm just like, it's just not interesting to me to see another man yelling at his mom and then proceeding to take it out on every other woman he meets after that. It's just boring to me.
I'm not saying it's interesting necessarily. I'm just saying it's more fully realized because it is a true issue that someone, I don't know, like, I don't think. I don't know. It's
well,
not
I mean,
getting
listen,
into. I don't like. I did not like. Other than showing what an asshole Billy is, I was not crazy about the issue's episode plot, and we don't have to talk about it a lot. But
also the thing. Okay, you bring up a great point. There's this huge, appears to be this huge symmetry that's existing between his relationship with Sandy and his mom, and then we never hear about it. Jake never says to himself. I do think it would have been interesting, and it would maybe care about Jake if he were to go, wow, after this conversation with his mom, going, oh wow, I think I know why I treat Sandy that way. Or just have some conversation.
Good luck, right?
Where exactly, to me, I was just like, oh, that could have been interesting. Instead, she showed up. He yelled at her. she's like, okay, I'm leaving, and then she's gone. And then again, and it's like this thing where I'm like, oh, I didn't really feel like I learned anything new about him. I'm not surprised his mom is kind of exactly what I would think would happen from this stereotypical, like,
And
situation.
he's kind of told the story before, so in that way it's not new information exactly.
And also, it's like, oh, cool, so this is the source of your trauma, and you're still doing the same stuff, right?
I think
So
there's a self-perpetuating thing where, like, the way that made him is with someone who lacks the tools. And he's still in the middle of a self-improvement kick. When and I don't think he's gotten there yet. I am giving it too much credit, by the way, also.
I mean, well, the thing is, knowing what I know about Jake's trajectory through the whole season, and knowing what I know about Michael's,
Mhm.
I just am reminded of how, Jake stays the same for me all the way through. He does not change. I don't really see a whole lot of levels,
Mhm.
but sometimes he's louder,
Mhm.
sometimes he's quieter.
Mhm.
But Michael, like, to me, I'm, like, excited for this Michael ride because
Yes.
he really,
Yes.
he's a character where the more I learn about him, the more he makes sense.
Yeah, but, well, as a side note, a thing that is a retcon later is that Jake has no brother here, and we know he will have a brother, and that's not a big spoiler.
Oh, yes.
I don't even know why they closed that door, but I connect that to, other than the timeline with Jane, there is a sense as you learn more about Michael that it's all,
Oh, it's hysterical.
It lines up, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm even seeing more, we come to learn that the scheminess is a Mancini family trait. I'm not going to say much more than that, but that's to come.
One of his, I don't want to spoil it, so I won't say it, but, like, I will say what we learn about one of his jobs of how he made money in the past.
Yes.
Every new piece of information is just so delightful to me.
I'm going to whet some appetite here by saying
Ooh.
I am nigh certain that the next episode will have a spoiler add-on.
Ooh, nice.
And we'll make sure Michael will come in.
Oh, sure,
So
yeah.
stick with us for the rest of whatever this is. We'll do another one like this, and then we'll get into some really fun shit, including some of Michael's life choices and stuff. But I think I'm almost taking each episode as its own text to such an extent that, like, Jake goes nowhere with any of this.
He's very much a Ken doll for me. Like,
Yeah.
it's just kind of like, the Ken doll thing. But I did the mom thing was great. Like, it was just, it is always interesting when they have something happen and then it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. And the way this woman is drawn is such a caricature. Like, we hear her in this course of kind of trying to make physical contact with a man at Shooters, like, literally at the table that Jake plays on all the time. She pretends to not know how to play pool, but she also says something about, like, so I suppose this is a ball. Like, like she's playing it that dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways. I don't know if style. How about her style though?
I'm very sorry that she failed your man. It's okay, baby.
I just. I want things to turn out okay for him.
Hey. You don't intellectually have to understand why you feel this sympathy for this human. It's okay. It's okay.
Humanish show object, to be fair. I mean, yeah. Do we want to talk about her style, though? The Ronald McDonald look?
I want to talk about the fact that, like, I don't think that she would have been able to fit those bulky clothing, into, like, because she came into his house with nothing. Like, she had a little purse, but every single outfit has crazy shoulder pads. And I believe there is a full two-piece denim outfit that she wears that is bedazzled. It's like almost like Tina Turner in Mad Max with the big shoulder pads. Just
welcome to Thunderdome.
100% welcome to Thunderdome.
Yeah,
her clothes were great. The red hair. She looked. I mean, listen. This is what a caricature of a bad mom. Because here's my argument. If you use this caricature of a woman who doesn't really exist, the bad mom with the she looked like Jezebel from my Children's Illustrated Bible.
I love this.
A cautionary woman who you should never be, God forbid, or they'll throw you out of a window. She looked exactly like that. So I also feel like, hey, if we present this woman as like this two-dimensional terrible mom after this, Jakes gets to be as big of a jerk as he wants without any explanation. Because if you'll notice, he understands that the source of his problems come from his mother. Let me ask you, what does he do to try to remedy that? Or learn from it?
Just continue to get her away from him, essentially.
I mean,
He
but
sets
also,
things back at the status quo.
But also, his relationship with his mother has nothing to do with her. It has everything to do with how he goes through the world. That's what I'm saying. Whether or not she's there, how he deals with it is his problem. So he never acknowledges it. He continues. Anytime for the rest of the series, a woman seems to potentially maybe thinking about leaving him, he shuts the door, never talks to them again, and ices them out. So that's what I mean.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's the whole, like...
Again, I'm sorry that she did that to you.
Okay, I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it. I almost feel like we kind of covered a lot. We could do regular... Do you feel like
I feel
anything?
good about this episode. I'd like to dive into the race relations. I'm just kidding. It's the worst part of this episode. No, not at all.
I don't know.
None of it
For
holds
those
up.
who watched the video, my eyes went wide for a moment.
It was great. No, we're absolutely not
Like,
doing
let's
that.
not, because it sucks.
No, I think this was great. I love the rhythm of this. I feel good.
So I'm just gonna hit some of our like I said, regular. We talked a little about part of how they realize this bad mom caricature is with like a look that is like aggressively sexual Reba as well. It's like she's a country music star, but you know, a woman who misbehaves.
Well, the redheaded thing is always, that's a Jezebel label.
We went down a minor rabbit hole about that thing Sandy was wearing, where it was a tank top with faux fur lapels.
You know what? One might argue that might be a Mancini original, but I don't know if Jane has a glue gun yet.
It looks too good at this point.
I
frankly.
agree with you. It looked a bit too interesting.
Hawkeye producer Chris noticed that that's not actually a leopard print. It's just a bunch
Black
of
dots.
Just someone went at that piece of carpet with a Krylon, I guess.
You know what? I could see Sandy's like running out. She's like, "Oh, I gotta go to Shooters," and Jane goes, "Wait, can you let me just try this?" And she just staples it on. She's like, "Tell me, just wear it for the night. Tell me how it hits you." And then Sandy's like, "Oh, jeez, I gotta have this conversation with Jane. Let me put on my choker."
Now I feel like I have my armor on. Ronald
Exactly.
Reagan. That's enough fashion. What do you think the worst thing Alison did this episode was?
Oh, that is a great question. Gaslighting a black woman.
That's right where we landed. That's like,
It's
why are you
hardcore.
defending his terrible behavior?
Not speaking up in the moment in front of everyone, and then also behind her back, totally undermining her reality of what happened. And so she made it really easy for us.
Yeah. That was glaring. We found an extra of the week, and you have a lot of great things to say about her style. We're staying kind of in style this way. If you want to view along with us, look around the 8:20 mark, 8 minutes and 20 seconds into this episode. At the police station, there's a lady who's just got it going on so much that you almost don't notice that Billy's being shitty to a cop.
Oh, she's so great. She has I like to theorize that this is someone who thought that perhaps they may also be in a Shooters scene, or maybe she was told to dress as if you could be arrested or you'll be in Shooters, and she's like, I have the perfect ensemble, and she did. And she looked like she was like heavy metal parking lot lady. She had this awesome almost like her hair was like a very like sideways side ponytail. That is a 90s woman right there, with the side ponytail, big metallic scrunchie. And like these cut off denim shorts, and she really stole the scene for me. She was great. I think she had hoops also, these big dangly hoops. And she looked happy to be there. She was allegedly being booked, but I feel like she had like a look on her face. She looked quite pleased.
Maybe she had the sense that she'd drawn focus.
She knew that she'd achieved her goal.
There's a weird electrical tape on the damn thing. Does that get us down to just quotations? I think we can do that.
Yeah, let's get some quotations.
Do other things.
Awesome, I'll let you.
Our day. We had a laugh at this line, and I think you can take the first one.
Stella on her career prospects. Her name is Stella. His mom's name is Stella. Oh, well then, there we go, right there.
Yeah.
I have one of those 90s jobs. Allows you to work anywhere you want. A waitress is always in demand.
Stella's got a weird conception of the world.
Hey, you know what? The world is her restaurant.
She's just a waitress. Billy, no context needed. I was always taught to respect people. You know, all people. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Bullshit, Billy. It's just
From the
another
man
lie.
who lies all the time.
Just another lie.
Now,
in the
Alice,
stack
because
of
I
lies.
give the benefit of the doubt. Now, Alison, may I have your keys? I need to steal your car.
There could be no benefit of the doubt because you said something wonderful. He never gives them the benefit of the truth.
No, he doesn't. Thank you. You're right.
Because you're right. On that note, just thanks a whole bunch for listening to our listeners. You make this a thing that's actually a thing and not some weird scream into the digital void.
But hey, if anyone wants to scream a digital void, go. That's okay too.
Keep listening. There's probably stuff on the social channels to give you imagery to match some of our words as well. Who knows?
100%. All kinds of stuff.
But
Yeah.
Here's to you, Lisa.
Take it easy. Here's to you, Wayne.
You're right. This is madness.